Mavis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we should see the development of federalism in Malaysia in two stages. The first stage is the Federation of Malaya Agreement, which subsequently developed into the Constitution of Malaya. And the second stage, when the formation of Malaysia took place with Sabah and Sarawak. There are two different things that we have to look at, and I would prefer to keep the Sabah and Sarawak debate to another time, because there are some very special things that we need to look at with regard to Sabah and Sarawak. For today, I would like just to focus on what developed in Peninsular Malaysia. And when we look at history, at the events that resulted in the framing of our Constitution in 1957, we are struck first by the fact that there were very few people who could be seen to be speaking on behalf of the states at the negotiating table. We had the alliance leaders, and they had just won a national level election and were concerned primarily with the transfer of power to them as the elected representatives of the people. We had the Malay rulers who were concerned primarily with how the political changes would affect their own position. And the British, the third member of the tripartite talks that took place, were against, in principle, any form of decentralization. When they introduced a unitary system in 1946 with the Malayan Union, which was aborted, they were concerned primarily with establishing a strong central government, which they did when the Federation of Malay Agreement was established. We now have the advantage of certain documents that are available in the Public Records Office, and they reveal some very interesting information. We can see from reading some of the verbatim reports that although the alliance leaders accepted a federal structure for historical reasons, they had worked closely with the rulers in opposing the Malayan Union proposals and were committed to maintaining the individual identity of the states. But they also wanted a strong central government. And, for example, we read that when Razak was asked to explain why he needed to have nominated members appointed to Senate, you know, Senate is usually the upper body that consists of representatives from the states who are directly or indirectly elected, as they are now. But why nominated members? He frankly replied that the intention was to prevent the states from having too much say. The generally held view at the time was that Malay rulers were the main obstacle to democratic reforms, and that by reducing the powers of the states, the status and position of the rulers would automatically be reduced. The British and alliance leaders seemed to be united in this view. In an internal memorandum by the Colonial Office staff, it was stressed that, and now I quote, "If the new nation is to have any chance of standing on its own feet among its much larger neighbors, its government must be unitary government, in fact, whatever its legal form." So when I'm asked whether state governments are actually given the powers accorded to them under the Constitution, my reply would simply be this: we have a federal constitution that distributes political power disproportionately between the center and the states. Over the years, the central government has assumed more and more power over the states, not by usurping state power, but by a combination of two factors. The first is its ability to skillfully exploit the jurisdiction it has been assigned, especially with regard to the several councils that have been set up under the Constitution to resolve problems between the center and the states. such as the National Finance Council, the National Land Council, the National Council for Local Government. The composition of these bodies are such that there is no way individual states can influence decisions in their favor. Secondly, the central government has been able to use the UMNO party machinery to shape center-state relations. The one-party dominance by UMNO at both the center and state levels, until the March 2008 elections changed this, has made these councils effective as a tool for curbing the growing as a tool for increasing centralization of power. In addition, the system whereby UMNO state chiefs are appointed rather than elected by divisional and branch level members has given the top leadership considerable leverage to interfere in state politics, as seen in the way Najib was able to meet the Sultan during the Perak political crisis. The political crises in Sarawak in the 60s, in Kelantan in the 70s, and the Sabah crisis in the 90s all demonstrate the extent to which the central government has the powers to intervene in any state on any matter whenever it deems fit to do so. Although there are constitutional limits on their powers to do so, these limits are ill-defined in the Constitution, leaving considerable leverage and advantage to the center. I have also been asked to speak on what I think is a model state federal framework. As you know, federal systems are no panacea for good government, but a poorly designed federal system, such as the one we have, can actually contribute to bad government. If the Pakatan Rakyat is really committed to federalism, that is, it will not forget about seminars such as these once it gains power at the central level, then it should set up task forces, discussions such as these, to review and examine the whole federal structure to make it truly federal in character, in spirit, and in form. We now have a hodgepodge of different federal structures: the Federated Malay States, the Federation of Malay Agreement, the Constitution of '57, the Malaysian Constitution, all one on top of each other in a higgledy-piggledy way. And of course, I'm certainly not in a position to tell you all the answers. What we need are discussions like these, and I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate the organizers of this seminar for organizing a seminar such as this to start the whole ball rolling. Thank you.
Terima kasih.